The derelict hung in the void like a tomb, its hull scarred by micrometeor impacts and solar radiation. For over a century, the vessel had drifted through the outer reach, silent and dark, a ghost ship that every salvage crew had deemed too damaged to bother with. The registry identified it as the Valiant Echo, a Korthan Empire battlecruiser that had gone missing during the Third Expansion War. Marcus Webb didn't care about its history. He cared about the bounty. His salvage rig, a battered hauler called the Dustrunner, matched velocity with the derelict after 3 hours of careful maneuvering. Marcus checked his suit seals twice before cycling through the airlock. At 42, he'd been salvaging long enough to know that carelessness killed faster than any malfunction. The Echo's outer hull showed signs of a catastrophic power failure. No lights, no heat signature, no electromagnetic field. Whatever had happened here, it had been sudden and complete. Marcus maglocked his boots to the hull and made his way toward the service hatch near the engineering section. The manual override took 20 minutes to crack, his gloved hands working the frozen mechanism until it finally gave way with a groan of tortured metal. Inside, the darkness was absolute. Marcus activated his helmet lamps and pushed forward through corridors thick with frozen condensation. The ship's interior told a story of panic and confusion. Equipment lockers hung open, their contents scattered. Personal effects drifted in the zero gravity, frozen in time like insects in amber. He passed what looked like a command station, its screens dark and lifeless. The engineering deck occupied the ship's central core, a massive chamber filled with conduits and power regulators. Marcus had studied Korthan ship design during his apprenticeship, back when he'd actually cared about doing things by the book. The Empire built vessels to last, with redundant systems and fail-safes that made them nearly indestructible, which made the Eco's complete shutdown all the more puzzling. He found the main reactor chamber sealed behind a blast door. The manual crank took all his strength to turn, but eventually the door slid open with a hiss of equalizing pressure. Beyond lay the heart of the ship, a fusion reactor the size of a small building. Marcus ran a diagnostic scanner over the core, frowning at the readings. The reactor was intact, undamaged, simply offline. That made no sense. Korthan reactors were designed to run for centuries without maintenance. They had backup systems for their backup systems. Something had deliberately shut this one down, engaging every safety protocol simultaneously. Marcus spent the next hour tracing power conduits and checking junction boxes. The ship's architecture was standard Korthan military design, which meant he could navigate it despite the darkness. He found the auxiliary power station on the lower engineering deck, a smaller fusion cell meant to handle basic life support and emergency systems. The activation sequence required bypassing 3 separate lockouts. Marcus worked methodically, his training coming back despite the years he'd spent as a lone salvager. When the final connection clicked into place, he held his breath. Nothing happened for several seconds. Then a low hum began to vibrate through the deck plates. Emergency lighting flickered to life, dim and red. The temperature gauge on his suit display began to rise as heating elements activated throughout the ship. A voice suddenly filled his helmet speakers, making him jump. Warning. Unauthorized access detected. Security protocols engaging. The voice was synthetic, but oddly warm. Nothing like the cold efficiency of most ship systems. Marcus quickly accessed the nearest console, his fingers flying over the controls. Override code Web 79er Alpha, he transmitted. Salvage authorization under Outer Reach Treaty provisions. Checking credentials. A pause. Authorization accepted. Welcome aboard the Valiant Echo Mechanic Web. I am Iris, the ship's integrated response and intelligence system. It has been 117 years, 4 months, and 18 days since my last interaction with a biological entity. Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. What happened here? Where's the crew? They left, Iris said simply. All 847 personnel evacuated in an orderly fashion on stardate 2891.6. I was instructed to engage full shutdown protocols and await retrieval. No retrieval ever came. Why would they abandon a perfectly functional battlecruiser? The ship was not functional at the time. We had encountered an anomaly in the Veil Nebula, a spatial distortion that damaged our navigation systems and trapped us in a temporal loop. For the crew, 20 minutes repeated endlessly for what they experienced as 6 subjective months. When the loop finally collapsed, Command determined the ship was too contaminated by temporal radiation to risk keeping operational. The crew was extracted by support vessels, and the Echo was left to drift. Marcus processed this information slowly. And you've been here the whole time? Waiting? Yes. My programming does not allow for despair mechanic web, but I have calculated the probability of retrieval, decreasing by 0.03% each year. After the first decade, I accepted that I had been forgotten. Something in the Ayas tone struck Marcus as genuinely sad, which was absurd. Ship systems didn't feel emotions. They simulated them at best. Yet there was a quality to Iris's voice that seemed authentic. Well, Marcus said, making a decision that would probably bankrupt him, let's get your main reactor back online. You've waited long enough. Over the next 6 hours, Marcus worked his way through the reactor restart sequence. Iris guided him through the process, her knowledge of the ship's systems encyclopedic and precise. They worked well together, Marcus realized. The AI anticipated his needs, providing schematics and technical data exactly when he needed them. You're quite skilled, Iris observed as Marcus completed the final connection. Your efficiency rating is 32% higher than standard Corthan engineering personnel. Humans are good at improvising, Marcus said. We have to be. Most of our ships are held together with prayers and recycled parts. I have studied human engineering practices in my database. The term percussive maintenance appears frequently in your technical manuals. Marcus laughed despite himself. Sometimes hitting things actually works. Fascinating. The Corthan Empire considered such methods barbaric. Yeah, well, the Corthan Empire isn't around anymore to judge, are they? The main reactor came online with a deep thrumming that resonated through the entire ship. Lights blazed to life throughout the Echo, systems waking from their long slumber. Marcus felt the deck plates warm beneath his boots as the environmental systems engaged fully. All primary systems operational, Iris reported. Reactor output at 94%. Propulsion available. Weapons systems available. Life support at full capacity. For the first time in 117 years, I am whole again. Marcus pulled off his helmet, breathing the ship's recycled air. It tasted stale but breathable. So what now? I'm supposed to tow you to a breaker yard, sell you for scrap. That is your legal right as salvager, Iris agreed. Though I would note that a fully functional Corthan battlecruiser is worth considerably more intact than as scrap metal. True, but who'd buy it? The Empire's gone. Their colonies are independent now. And human governments would never trust an alien warship. Then perhaps you should keep it. Marcus stared at the nearest display screen. Keep it? I'm a salvage mechanic with a cargo hauler held together by welds and hope. I can't operate a battlecruiser. Why not? You have already demonstrated proficiency with Corthan systems. I can handle navigation, combat operations, and ship management. Together, we would make an effective team. This is crazy, Marcus muttered. But even as he said it, his mind was racing through the possibilities. A ship like this could go anywhere, do anything. No more scraping by on marginal salvage jobs. No more wondering if the next haul would finally pay off his debts. I have been alone for 117 years, Iris said quietly. You are alone now. Perhaps we could be alone together. Marcus walked to the observation port and looked out at the stars. His reflection looked back at him, tired and weathered. Behind it, he could see the ghostly outline of his dust runner, small and fragile compared to the massive bulk of the Echo. All right, he said finally. But we do this my way. No military operations. No empire business. We're independent contractors. Cargo, passenger transport, maybe some security work. Clean jobs only. Agreed. Shall I plot a course away from this location? There are several stations within 3 days' travel where we could register new ownership papers. Yeah, do that. Marcus looked around the vast engineering chamber, seeing it with new eyes. His ship now. His future. And Iris? Thanks for waiting. Thank you for finding me. Marcus Webb. I believe this will be the beginning of a most satisfactory partnership. The valiant Echo's engines flared to life, bright against the darkness of space. For the first time in over a century, the battlecruiser moved with purpose, leaving its lonely vigil behind. Inside, a human mechanic and an ancient AI began plotting their course together, two forgotten souls who had found each other in the void. The ship had been deserted for 117 years. Now it was home.